Hello and welcome to 60 Seconds with Sergio. I am your host, Sergio Cabanas, attorney at law here in Florida. Thank you for joining me today. Today's question is, Sergio, I've decided to move forward with getting married. However, I've heard a lot about prenuptial agreements, and I was wondering what exactly is a prenuptial agreement or a prenup, and should I get one before I get married? Well, under Florida law, a prenuptial agreement is basically an agreement that's signed by two people who are about to marry one another that addresses what would happen to the assets and the incomes of the parties in the event of a divorce in the future. These prenuptial agreements also have different names. It could be known as a premarital agreement or an antenuptial agreement, but it also means the same thing, and lawyers usually refer to it collectively as a prenup. So now that we discussed what a prenup agreement is, now we have to decide whether you should get one. Well, the best way of answering that question is simply taking a step back and understanding what happens under Florida law in the event of a divorce when you do not have a prenup. Florida law recognizes something called equitable distribution, which in a nutshell means that the courts will look at all of the assets that the spouses have and divide it between the spouses, usually on a 50-50 equal basis. Also, the court will look at the incomes of the parties to determine whether one or the other will have to pay alimony to the other spouse. So now that we have a general idea of how Florida divorce law works, then we get back to the question, should you get a prenup? Well, if you're okay with how Florida divorce law works in general, maybe you should bypass a prenup, get married, and hope for the best. However, if you're not okay with how Florida divorce law works, and you're not okay with leaving all of these decisions up to a judge who may not know or care about you, then you should get a prenup. Well, I hope this short video provided you some guidance on prenuptial agreements. As always, this is not a substitute for an actual consultation with an attorney who can review the specific facts of your case and apply the law accordingly. Thank you again for joining me today. And as always, stay informed so you can stay strong.